Hey, everybody. Welcome to Marvel Movie Talk, a special edition of Marvel Movie Talk. Very excited. Finishing up our conversation now on Captain America, Brave New World. Getting to have one more round of conversation with, of course, our friend Katie Hampton. People know her from podcasts such as Napping Through Happy Hour and Marvel Movie Talk, the podcast she's on right now. And among others, Christian Cringe, which is not a collection of cringy photos of me, but I wish it were.
Right? You know what? Next episode, we'll hit that. Yeah,
we'll do that. And someone I've known for quite some time, making his first appearance, not on the Geekscape Network, because he was part of the roundtable of NBC Pages, former NBC Pages, talking about the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary. My friend Shalko Gordon, and it is great to see you here. And,
yes,
I'm very interested in getting everybody's thoughts on this film. And I am going to start with you, Shalako, because you're our guest.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll start. We like to start big picture, overall thoughts. What did you think? Or let me even ask a little differently. Going in, what were your expectations, and what did you think? Yeah, well, look, the Happy Meal tie-ins, they happened last summer. Yeah,
that is
because
cool.
That's when the movie's supposed to come out. But what were your expectations heading into this, and what did you think of the movie overall?
Okay. Well, first, thanks for having me back again. I guess this time to talk my what I really love, nerd Marvel stuff, as you can see here. Going in the movie, my expectations were actually kind of low. Okay. And that was simply because of all the drama that, this movie kind of had to deal with, whether it was the writer's strike, the rewrites, all of these things. So I wasn't expecting a lot. When I saw the trailer, I was excited, although a bit disappointed, but I understood why they had to do it because they needed to sell this film. Yeah. And by that, I mean, I felt like the Red Hawk should not have been revealed at all. Right. I think it would have been way more impactful if we'd have seen it in the theater, or in the movies when we went to the movies, and then we were like, oh my God, it's the Red Hawk, da, da, da. But we knew it was coming. If you've seen the movie, I'm sure everyone who's watching this or listening to this has seen the movie. So you knew once Harrison was taking the pills, you knew what they were for. Like you just gave a major kind of plot point away in the trailer. So that was a little bit disappointing for me. But I should say, like I said, going in, my expectations were low. Leaving, I felt like the movie was fun. It was fun and it was enjoyable. It has tons of issues, which I'm sure we'll get into. Katie has to talk because I can talk a lot about it. But my overall was like, it's fun, enjoyable, okay. So that's where
and that's what I was saying when we even first talked about it was that look, what I want from these movies is I want to sit down, I want to have fun, and I want to feel like I had more fun than didn't. And I felt like that's what it was. And I went with people who actually hated the movie and they thought that the trailer was misled them. And I'm like, I felt like the trailer was 100% for this movie. Yeah. Popping back into the show right now is the wisecracking blonde Christina, who has her microphone on mute. So before I set you up with a question, I will say probably just on the screen, we can click that off, but we appreciate Christina being here. Christina, thank you for coming back on the show. It's great to see you again. Oh, see, now I think you turned off the mute on the computer and then put on the mute on the microphone. So we will, so we will definitely... We'll mess around with that, but you can tap the mic and we'll see if we're hearing it at any point, maybe. And I want to ask Katie, your expectations going in and your actual thoughts coming out of it. Hey! Katie, Christina's there.
I'm like, I'm here.
She's always wisecracking that wisecracking.
I know.
It's like, oh yeah, no, the microphone worked the whole time. I was just moving my mouth.
That was a test. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we're glad that you're here, Katie. Your thoughts heading into the movie and where that matched up with what you thought walking out of the movie.
I was pretty similar. I was not having highest expectations. I've been hearing a lot of stuff, and I understand, especially with the writer's strike and everything that was going on, that I knew there was going to be some changes. There was going to be some things that were kind of hokey or whatever. But apart from all of that, absolutely, this was a fun movie. I loved the stunts on this movie. The stunts were so good, and the hits hit hard. And you know what? Anthony Mackie did an incredible job.
He did.
Really, really loved his performance in this.
Yeah, I think that it shows that obviously Anthony Mackie, the actor, can carry a movie, but it also showed that Sam Wilson, the character, can carry a movie. And I think he was tremendous in this. What did you think, Christina, heading in, wondering what this latest Marvel movie was going to be? And how did you feel after you gotten to see it?
So I'm going to be honest. I did not want to see it. I hate the concept of replacing Captain America. I am obsessed with Steve Rogers as a character. I just think it's really hard to try to replace that. And all that said, I still really enjoyed it and thought it was really well done.
Yeah, no, and look, I think that that's a very real feeling, is because we loved Steve. There's the idea of like, I don't know if I want another Hawkeye. I don't know if I want another Iron Man. I don't know if I want another Hulk, red, green, blue, yellow, otherwise.
Black Widow.
Yeah, we got a new Black Widow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's good, though, that you were able to, head into it. And, the film was able to win you over. And I did, like I was saying, I found it to actually be a lot of fun. And I think that they definitely went the kind of the espionage route, pulling more Winter Soldier than Civil War or even First Avenger. But I found the whole thing to be engaging. I thought that we had some great performances. And I thought that Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk was great. I agree with Shalko. I think had we not seen it going in and we thought, hey, I wonder if it happens, it would have been a great reveal. But I think from a business standpoint, I don't know how you market this movie without the Red Hulk, because it was such a big part of the push. So I understand it, how they were able to do it. If Sky the Magnanimous pops into the chat and says, Christian, you always put on a great show, you can guarantee that I'm going to put that in there. And he also said, hi, Katie and Shalko Gordon, and hello, Christina. So Sky the Magnanimous says hi to everyone. Now that is a polite member of our chat. Let's let everyone take a lesson from that. So what do you think? Let's stay with the positive. What did you think worked best in the movie? I'll ask you first, Shalako. Obviously, getting to see Sam as Captain America finally in the suit with the shield and all that. What do you think worked the best in these this 1 hour and 58 minutes? I was going to say 2 hours, and then I was like, it's not quite. It's almost.
Well, what worked for me really was Mackie himself, and I was one of the, I guess, few people who really enjoyed the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series on Disney Plus. I mean, the numbers were actually really good, but then when you compared it to like Loki and WandaVision, it seems like no one enjoyed it, but it was actually really good. So I really appreciated that series, and I appreciated kind of like how it led into the film. I think what I really enjoyed was how Sam and Isaiah kind of worked together, and played off each other, because, just full disclosure, as you can see, I'm a full comic book nerd. So I know the story of Isaiah Bradley. I have 5,000 comics downstairs in my basement. I have that series originally when it came out. Nice. So I was just really excited to see it play out on screen, And so I thought they handled it well. And I was good with them showing, like, because of course going in, everyone was thinking, like, how could he actually battle the Red Hawk? I enjoyed that fight. That was actually a good fight to me, and I thought they did a good job of showing that he could survive a fight with a Red Hawk, not beat him, but survive it. And I was really, that was a good positive for me just watching that. And then I love just really quickly too, I loved how Sam and Torres, they're Batman Robin kind of growing friendship thing going on. So buddy cop. There you go. That's the best way to describe it. And I really enjoyed that. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I thought that their dynamic was great. And for the Geekscape Book Club, we just did a Sam Wilson, Joaquin Torres story, Captain America, Symbol of Truth from 2022. So I liked their dynamic in that, and I felt like it translated really well to the big screen. For you, Christina, what do you feel like worked the best about this film?
I really enjoyed that they kept him as human as possible, because I know that that's pretty hard to do in these movies, and he's still got to survive a bunch of weird stuff that you're like, well, no normal human wouldn't survive that. But it made sense in the tools that he had and the gear that he had and the way that he was using it. That's actually like the part where they're flying is the only part that I was like, that's a little unbelievable that they're just like flying with fighter jets. That doesn't make sense. But outside of that, I appreciated that they like leaned into the fact that he was human and they weren't trying to make him more than that. He was not a super soldier. He was just a guy trying to do the right thing for the right reasons. And I think they handled it pretty well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Katie, it comes up throughout the course of the movie. He's like, I should have taken that super soldier serum. And then Bucky's like, no, you shouldn't have taken it. But talk a little bit about that, because look, at the end of the day, he is just a guy in a really fancy suit. And I mean, really fancy, like Black Panther fancy. I love the way that it showed off, the way that it redirected energy when it got hit, and just, how it absorbed things. I'm like, all right, yeah, this is next level. This is like beyond Stark tech, really. What did you think of all that, Katie?
Yeah, I mean, it's Wakanda tech, so obviously it's going to be way better. But I love the humor of this movie. This was just like a fun movie, and I know we've been getting a little bit of the superhero fatigue, so it's really nice to see a superhero who's not intrinsically super in any way, shape, or form except for his gear. Like Iron Man's similar, and we've kind of lost that Iron Man figure that it's like, hey, here's the humanity, but I'm still going to do the right thing anyway. I'm not going to take the drugs in order to become a superhuman soldier or anything like that. I'm going to just do the thing that I always wanted to do. And I also love that he wasn't going to bow down to Harrison Ford in any shape or form. Like I was like, really, you're gonna be a part of this? Like you're gonna be a part of the whole like industry of all the militarization of this? I was like, really, are we doing this?
I love that poster.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I have to say, Danny Ramirez was really great in this movie. Like to the point that I was like, can we please get more of him? He was phenomenal, so funny,
so charming.
So charming, so quick-witted, and like I love that he was basically just. I feel like he could have played some version of Spider-Man at some point in time, and I would have loved to have seen that. He's just as quick and fast, and he's just as like giddy about the gear, and I love that.
Yeah, he brings that sort of that aw shucks optimism and wonder at the world that Peter Parker has, and I think our best characters have that. To what Shelko said earlier, I also enjoyed the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV series. There's a fight sequence that starts that series that I don't know what the budget was, but I couldn't believe that Disney Plus had spent it, and it was so great. And look, we get to meet John Walker in that series, and Wyatt Russell does such a tremendous job because you hate him in that series.
Oh yeah, immediately.
No,
he's got that big dumb face that you just want to punch, right, Christina?
He's got a very punchable chin, and it's so because he's a very good actor, but it at that point, I'm sure he's a very lovely human being, but he is so punchable. And I'm curious how his character will change or not change in the next coming movies. But
how many times is he going to get punched in the face and thumb?
Give him a little red Hulkism.
Skylar Magnanimous also said that he believes if Captain America: Brave New World was a continuation of the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV series and had Sam, Bucky, and Joaquin versus the Illuminati, that's a better idea.
Yeah.
Bucky was the thing that when I saw the trailers for this and we heard like, oh yeah, this isn't Cap and Bucky, Cap and Falcon. They're building that brand. I was like, oh, but I really liked them together. And this is something we've theorized in past conversations about this film. The scene with Bucky towards the end feels very tacked on after the fact. Like they thought
definitely it was an addition.
Like it's definitely like people really want to see him. All right, I guess we'll have him do something.
Right.
I enjoyed it, but you can see that it was part of the rewrites. And I guess to that young man's point, I want to know what the original script looks like.
That would be
because part of my, and I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit too far ahead, but I kind of did a TikTok on this. But part of my issue was I just felt like Marvel caved. They caved in. Marvel to me right now is under the most pressure pretty much since its inception. And one thing people aren't understanding is that if you look at the earlier phases, like these phases were planned out and executed over 15 years.
Yeah.
Marvel doesn't have that time anymore. So they need to kind of get things out and get things going, a little bit quickly because they have shared, Disney has shareholders, all of these things. I felt like the original script, which was probably trying to be a little bit more Winter Soldier, with like you said, like the espionage, the kind of like that whole deal. I think they just caved. I think they caved, and then there were a couple of people who were like, I don't know if I like this, and they were like, okay, well, we got to switch things up, and I think a continuation of the series actually would have been great, and I think it would have worked really well, but it may have been too much Bucky because he has to be in the Thunderbolts film as well, so it may have been too much Bucky, but I think they still could have continued with it where we could have seen the Power Broker. We could have seen more Val, because these are people who are all in this world now. We did this film and then we just take them all out. And so I would have liked to see, and I think eventually maybe it'll come down to it, the original script, because I think Marvel caved to appease everyone, and they just started cutting things and filling in holes, and that kind of took away.
Well, Shalako, of course, member of the Emily Van Camp fan club, as someone asking for the Power Broker to have been brought back. But it would have been nice to continue some of those themes. I definitely agree. Christina, was there anything for you? We're talking about this Bucky scene, but was there anything that you looked at and go like, well, this doesn't really match up. This feels like kind of an afterthought. Anything that really was glaring, like the Bucky scene was maybe for some of us?
I felt like, real quick, I'm going to talk about the point that we were just talking about.
Sure,
because
absolutely.
I think, and now, of course, my brain's going to go blank, but I think they had to sort of remove Bucky from this thing because Sam has to be able to stand on his own, and thus far he has not.
True.
And so they can't make him like a lead. They can't make him replacing Steve Rogers. They can't make him Captain America if the whole time he's got other people around him that are like shoring him up. So I feel like they had to do that. But what I felt like was really a weird afterthought was the whole Liv Tyler as the daughter thing. I didn't understand it. They didn't really dig into it enough. And then they threw it in at the end like we were supposed to be like, oh my gosh, there's the reveal. And I was like, I don't care.
That was one of the things that I found interesting because they did no hand-holding in this movie, and I kind of liked, for the majority, like I haven't seen the original, the Ed Norton Hulk, and apparently that's what she's.
Yeah, that's what it was referenced to.
And that's where we get to meet the leader, who we'll talk about in a little bit. It's the same actor, Tim Blake Nelson, plays the doctor who becomes the leader. Those are both references. And I've often said, as I've talked about this movie, it is in a way, it's a sequel to two of the least likely MCU films to get sequels: the 2008 Incredible Hulk, and also the Eternals, which somehow factored in with the end. Finish your thought, Katie.
But on top of it, like I thought it was really well done because it didn't feel like you needed to do the homework beforehand. And I know we've talked about this with several other Marvel movies before. It was like you could enjoy the movie for its standalone power. I thought it was fun, like the action, everything, like I said before, was great. And I didn't feel necessarily like I loved when Bucky came in. I thought that was very fun. My favorite thing of all, though, was when Anthony Mackie says Bucky was full of shit. Best line. And it was just like, you really, really want. But it was really nice to not have to be like, okay, which movies, TV shows, and things do I need to watch before I watch this? Though I have heard amazing things, Christian, of your breakdown before you watch Brave New World. So if you haven't watched Brave New World yet and you are watching this, go watch that video on Geekscape's YouTube, because it was really great to kind of get you in the know of like who it is that you might be seeing again.
I haven't had that many views in a very long time. So thank you for teasing that video. So,
Of course. I will say, though, that the one thing that kind of felt off to me, I thought Harrison Ford was going to die. And it felt like maybe in the original, like you were talking about, Shalako, I think maybe they had him dying because it just, everything felt like they were pushing him to just die. And then like I felt like that moment when Anthony Mackie's like talking to him in the jail cell, it felt very last minute put in. And it was a little bit like, hey, I know you had some bad stuff in the past, but you can be a good guy now because you're doing the right decisions. And it was like, that felt the most Captain America to me, because I feel like he's always the proponent of that, aw shucks, good old boy, like great morals, like everyone can do it too. But at the same time, I think Anthony Mackie raised the level of what Captain America can and should be. And I'm so glad that everybody in the movie around DC was like, hey, Captain America, that is Captain America. We didn't have to go through all the stuff that we went through in Winter Soldier and not my Captain America and all that,
Yeah. Now, I the thing that was interesting, like what you were saying, just to pick up on that real quick about Red Hawk, I think once again, it's like I said, Disney or Marvel, they just they were scared. Like it made sense to kill him. It made sense because then you can actually even fix a problem with like, okay, we don't need a Red Hawk, which you really don't. So we don't need to see him again. So you could have ended it all right there, and then you would have, it would have been done with that. But they got scared again. It's like, oh, I don't know, maybe if we kill Harrison Ford on screen, people will hate us and they'll hate the movie or whatever. So we got to keep him in, and that's what
it could also be more financial, where it's like we want to have Harrison Ford in more movies, and
for our
visual 3 years old.
Yeah. Well, I thought they're leaving the door open.
They're definitely. I agree with Christina. Yeah. So we did talk about this in a past conversation, but our visual audience is seeing right now a freeze frame from the original teaser trailer, and you can see they are at a funeral, and it is a military funeral. And so there are questions of who was this for? Was it Harrison Ford? It doesn't seem like it's big enough for the sitting president. Could it have been Falcon? Could it have been Isaiah Bradley? So in an earlier version of the script, there's every indication that someone died. The fact that the cherry blossoms are in the shot tells me that it was actually Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
And I hate to be repetitive for our audience who hangs on my every word and our every word, but I felt like the Liv Tyler appearance was going to be far more significant. I thought at the moment of the fight where Red Hulk is about to literally rip off Sam's arms, then we're going to see Betty show up and be like, Dad, what are you doing? And then that would help him calm down the way that Natasha used to always calm down Bruce. So I thought that would have been a much more effective use of her. And, and the fact that they had a phone call earlier, it already kind of softened it a little bit. But once there was a phone call, like, well, you don't pay Liv Tyler just to be off camera and
just to be a voiceover.
Her per diem is not worth it.
We'll just double your per diem. How about that?
They got those lines on the fly. I did really. I wanted to go back to Danny Ramirez.
Sure.
That was another one that I was a little afraid that they were going to kill off earlier.
Yeah.
Because everything was kind of like leaning towards, perhaps one of these good people that we really enjoy are going to die. But it seems interesting to me. I feel like ever since we had I believe it was the the Writers Guild awards, when Vince Gilligan was saying we need to write more good characters. I thought it was very interesting seeing that video of him giving that speech. And then we get to see these characters who make very hard, but very realistic and very honest decisions to make things better. And it's messy and it doesn't work out all the way. And Anthony Mackie still gets hurt within all of these fights and has to recover. And I liked the grounding of that. I do feel like it was kind of punched a little bit too hard in some areas, but I thought it like the extent of the movie felt very realistic in how and that's very different from what Marvel, I feel like, has been leaning towards. And even bringing in the Eternals, like just the, what's it called? The Titan, forgive me. Go ahead, Shalko.
Now it just popped out of my head.
I'm so sorry. But to have like all of these different people fighting over these materials, And then we're getting into all of these like solid
Tiamat.
Thank you.
Tiamat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, Tiamat coming out. It was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that plot point. And apparently it felt like the rest of the MCU did too. So it was nice to like get back to that, but also put it in a realistic world where everybody's kind of fighting over that resource.
Yeah. By the way, John asks a very economic question of, is HF the R Hulk? Yes, Harrison Ford is the Red Hulk, as you can see. I love the way that he posted.
Well done decoding that, because I was like, health factor.
I spent a lot of time reading chats and getting to see what everybody has to say. And there was our friend Craig Robinson's in the chat, and I was looking for something specific that he said. Yeah, here it is. And I agree on this. I wanted more Isaiah Bradley. Haven't read the books set up on screen. Such an interesting character. I thought that I was impressed by how much we did get, but I would have liked more, you know. Just sort of, he's got the suit, he goes to the White House, he gets the suit back, and Carl Lumley, tremendous as Isaiah Bradley. And,
so good.
Yeah, I thought it was great that we really got to spend time with him, because that's one of those things that you assume you could see him after that series, but if we never saw him again, it was also like, all right, they probably felt like his story kind of covered that, you know. To what Shalico said earlier, the Red Hulk fight towards the end around the cherry blossoms is probably the most, we're talking about fun, this movie being fun. For me, that was probably the most fun sequence. I really enjoyed that. Let's talk a little bit about someone we haven't discussed yet, someone who was added in reshoots. Now, I always thought this actor's name was Giancarlo Esposito, but I've been told it's Giancarlo Esposito. So I've
by London, I'm sure.
Possibly by Jonathan London. But I mean, I remember him back on the last season of Homicide. So he's been around for a very long time.
He's been around for a very long time.
He's fantastic. And he's working on that hat trick, because he's in Star Wars. Now he's in Marvel. He just needs to be like a Disney villain. You know, Ming-Na Wen has that.
Sure, he's a
Ming-Na Wen was a Disney princess. She was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a Marvel show, and she was also in The Mandalorian. So I'm waiting for him to get that. But he's great, and clearly he's in this because they're going to do more with him. He replaced the original Sidewinder with Seth Rollins, who's a wrestler, UFC actor. And so they replaced all that. I'm glad that he's in this. I think that there is a scene where Sam goes back to talk to him that also feels tacked on. But that
was horribly done. Yeah.
You've only made the movie better by having him in it. But yes, having the reshoot on top of the reshoot. What did you think, Christina, having him as a Sidewinder, sort of this guy that isn't even the big bad in this movie, but he's a very big bad for one scene in particular, Christina?
Yeah, this is where I acknowledge that I don't read the comic books.
Girl, it's fine.
I didn't know a lot going in. I was honestly a little thrown off by the usage of him. It was like he was gonna be this big bad thing, and then he wasn't, and then
he was gone in like 10 minutes.
And then I thought it was gonna lead to something else, and then it didn't, and I was like, okay, that was cool. So I don't know how he was supposed to be utilized, but as a viewer who knows nothing, I was like, okay.
Yeah. No, look, great actor gets to go in here. You have Harrison Ford, so you know there's definitely that actor with a capital A quotient. What did you think, Katie, getting Giancarlo E?
Esposito. I freaking love him. He's an amazing actor, but I feel like it almost felt like a stunt casting that was already cast in a odd way. Like he went down pretty quick, and he was almost. I mean, he is a Spider-Man villain, but it felt like a Spider-Man villain where it was just like, oh, okay. And then we're just not going to see him again, and he's not going to be involved in the rest of the plot.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
And then we just drop him in. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I was like, I was hoping to get at least a glimpse of him. We do towards the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have that scene at the prison.
Yeah.
Or at the military base. Yeah.
I thought it would be more of like he was part of the master plan, and it was just like he was just a connector from this plot point to the next plot point, and so I was
a
little.
He was leveraged by the leader, who we'll talk about in a moment, and he was utilized for him. Funny comment from the great Sam Bibley. Red Hulk is such a blatant ripoff of the Hulk. You know what? I don't see it. I think it's a completely different character.
Similarities.
It's the only one they can bring to the Marvel MCU right
magnanimous. Carl Lumley's awesome. And,
yes. Lumley was great.
John says, I've read a Red Hulk graphic comic book and found it different and interesting. Look, the Red Hulk as a character, the fact that he's Thunderbolt Ross automatically makes him just incredibly interesting. And look, I'm not gonna lie, I would have liked to have seen some Bruce Banner in this, but it's not it wouldn't have fit.
Did you guys see that interview with Harrison Ford when the interviewer asks him about
well, you know,
do you have it? Of course you have it.
If you're going to bring it up, I was actually going to play it a little bit later, but you're asking for it now.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I actually love this answer. I think some people
the best answer.
Don't appreciate it, but he's asked an important question by an interviewer.
How easily can you silence the part of your brain that says, I look like an idiot when I'm playing a Red Hulk? You know, the behind-the-scenes footage of this, you probably look like an insane human being.
I don't want to break your bubble, but that's what the money is for.
So if it ends right there, it's a pretty funny thing. But
it goes better.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Like that's pretty great.
Money is for. To silence that part of your brain.
Gone.
It's like magic.
It's not magic. It's commerce.
I love that line. It's not magic, it's commerce.
It's commerce, yeah.
Yeah, but he goes on, and I never want to stop the clip there because it's kind of misleading.
No, but which is not to say that I'll take money for anything.
Sure.
No, I want to make sure that the trip I'm on is one that an audience will follow.
Yeah. So, I mean, you did cash the check for Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, but you probably expected something else.
Yeah, but he probably got paid a ridiculous amount of money for that as well because it's the main character. But the best part of that video is at the very tail end where he's like, so you also had it in your writer that the footage of the raw footage without the special effects is no longer in there.
It's something that they'll want to allow me to be involved in.
That being said, is it in your contract that they never release the behind-the-scenes footage of what you looked like playing?
Yes, who told you?
And it's like that was one of those things, as an actor that you're like, oh, that would be so cool to get to a place one day where you can have a writer that says, hey, you can't show all the bad takes.
Yeah. Harrison Ford can be very, crotchety, but very funny in his crotchetiness. Mm-hmm. He'll take questions, and we played one sometime last year, and he was like, oh, this is like a Greedo shot first question. And he's like, usually like, thank you for asking, but no, thank you. I don't want to answer that. It's usually very funny. But that was a great clip. And Katie, I'm actually glad you reminded me of the way it ended. I actually forgot that.
So good.
Who told you? So,
who told you?
Harrison Ford, yes, of course it's commerce, but at the same time, you want to play an interesting character. It is a very unique character. Taking over Thunderbolt Ross from the late William Hurt. And the line that I always lean on, they told me to lose the mustache and lose the election. I'm like, all right, good enough.
And you got to put that out early so the audience knows and they understand that, this is someone playing, another character, but it's the same guy. I just wanted to touch on something really quickly.
Please.
Too, that I can't remember. I think Katie brought it up before, but the whole Eternals kind of connection. I will definitely raise my hand and say I'm one of the few people that actually enjoyed the Eternals.
That one actually surprises me. Okay.
I mean, listen, I thought the director, first of all, one of the things, just real quick line, one of the things Marvel really doesn't do is let the directors kind of showcase their identity. There's really only a few directors who could do that outside of Gunn, maybe outside of Coogler, and the Russos, but everyone else is like you're cutting and pasting, Yeah. So as a filmmaker for myself, I thought she was able to really, put her thing on it, and I didn't hate it like everyone else hated the film.
Well, and you're talking about Chloe Zhao, the director.
Chloe Zhao, yes.
Yeah, and I in that movie is kind of buried what I was able to enjoy as pieces of a good movie. I think that I know how many characters there are in the Eternals from the comic books. They didn't need to try and get them all in there. It was just too many, and it was too much. The movie was definitely a little harder to follow than it needed to be. But rightly so, they knew they weren't going to get 2 movies out of it. So
I understand that, but here's my take on that. Here's my take on it. They should have done another movie. And here's why. Because without an Eternals 2, you leave other films and other characters to explain the big giant robot you have sticking out of the Indian Ocean.
That's
okay.
fair.
So they just forgot about it for years.
That's the thing. Like you can't forget about it. And then he's there. Tiamat is there. He almost destroys the planet. He is, outside of Thanos, he is hard proof that we are not alone in this world, and these things will come to our Earth and all of these things. So using the Eternals to kind of even explain it, maybe even figuring out a way to get him out of there, I thought would have been a better look for the film. But now you need a film like Captain America to bring this thing back in and to explain it. And now we're saying a very important metal in the Marvel universe, adamantium, comes from this, when before it didn't. But now it's coming from this, and this is how we're going to introduce it. It's just, to me, it was a step that I don't think they needed to take, and I don't want them to back themselves in a corner now where every time you need to introduce something, oh, well, there's a robot sticking out of the Indian Ocean. We got it from him, So, right. So, that bothered me in a sense, because I just felt like Sam didn't need to deal with that as his first big issue. You know what I mean? It should have been something a little bit more.
I agree with that, but Shalako, as a fellow big nerd with only 3,000 comic books out in my office, not 5,000, the word adamantium getting said, I couldn't help but be a little excited when they said it, even though I don't know that I love where it came from. I'm like, oh my God, that's on Wolverine's bones. Bring that to me now.
So Christina, if you don't know from the comics, that's the one thing that is like connecting everybody to the X-Men, and we haven't.
I was immediately thinking about the timeline. Like, wait a minute, he's had that on his bones for quite a long time, and how are we just now discovering it? And what's going to happen with all that?
Yeah.
It's the multiverse.
That's a great point.
It's a great question.
But see, that's the thing. They can't do it from the multiverse, because if you watch the Ms. Marvel series, you already introduced the idea that mutants exist in this timeline, in this universe. So it's okay to say, okay, the mutants exist, but they're not together, they're not bandits, so they're not going to fight with us. But you're building it from scratch. So it's a cop-out to just say now, there's a multiverse of mutants around now, and then we're just going to bring them in. Like that doesn't work.
Well, it is interesting, because what was it? The end of Black Widow, the teaser tag after the credits was, we got a little wasn't it?
Well, that was in the Marvels.
It was no,
I'm sorry. That was the Ms. Marvel TV series when they said she was a mutant,
TV series.
We heard
That's the TV series.
But also in Multiverse of Madness, when we saw that, we saw Professor X. That was the other time we got that. So they're trying to we're done with the multiverse except for where we need to use the multiverse. Right. We feel like the Fantastic Four being in the past is going to be a multiverse. We've talked about on
I have a theory about
regular
that too,
episodes of this show.
Do you think they're going to bring the X-Men in via the Fantastic Four?
I think the Fantastic Four are actually the 616 Fantastic Four that got lost in the multiverse, and they're in another place, and he's trying to get back to 616. That's why he was creating the warp.
We've had the theory on the main version of the show, the regular episodes, that Galactus actually consumes their Earth, and they end up in the multiverse, and they end up in the cinematic Marvel universe. But that's a story for another time. I do want to talk about the mastermind of the events of this film, and it is not the character mastermind, because that is an X-Men villain, but it is indeed the leader. And we were talking about the very handsome Tim Blake Nelson.
I completely forgot about this. Okay, yes, Tim Blake Nelson. What a trip with this.
By the way, if
character.
anyone wants to make me a T-shirt of this image, I will happily wear it on this show and every other, because just that look this is like his school photo. The only thing that's missing is the fake lasers behind him with his hands on his arms, like,
like
just
his
giving a
prom
big
photo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a prop
Whenever
photo.
I see this guy, I immediately sing "Constant Sorrow" in my head. Like he will always and forever be that guy to me.
He's always Green Mile to me. He's always the guy with the mouse. Yeah.
So I want to ask what and listen, this is a continuation from the Incredible Hulk, the Ed Norton Hulk, the 2008 Hulk, which some idiot on the wrap-up video, the catch-up video, said that movie came out in 2011, and I don't know who that was, but that person's an idiot. But this movie's from 2008. But some might say 2011, but they'd be wrong. It's me. But in any case, so getting the continuation, it was kind of like a thing. Like, he is, in addition to Thunderbolt Ross, he's the main well, I guess it's Thunderbolt Ross, the Abomination, who we also get in that movie, and then the leader is really like the Lex Luthor, the Green Goblin. He's the main adversary of the Hulk, this genius against the guy whose solution to everything is Hulk smash.
Brain versus brawn.
Yeah, so I was excited that we would get him.
Yeah.
But shout out to Tim Blake Nelson, who probably got a call from his manager. It was like, hey, remember that movie you did 15 years ago? No. Okay, well, you were in a Hulk movie, and do you remember the way it ended? No. Well, we want you to play that character. Didn't he die? No, actually, he didn't. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So getting the
He's probably been trying to forget.
Yeah, right, exactly. But when your brain's that big, Christina, you can't forget. That's the
Cannot
problem.
leave it behind.
Without, and it's interesting because I wonder, Christina, that without the familiarity of who the leader is, and he does not look like this. What did you think of this as the guy with always? He's the C-3PO, always figuring out the odds. He's got all the averages and the probabilities in his head. What did you think of the leader, Christina?
I actually really enjoyed that as a concept. I also really enjoyed like his whole physicality as a character. I felt like this movie was really visceral in the way that like there were stab wounds, there were like bullet wounds. This guy's face is really challenging to look at. Like there was a lot of moments where you were like, whoa, this movie's like making like the physicality of everything just sort of is creating a reaction. So I liked that he was uncomfortable, but also not wrong most of the time, but also really uncomfortable. It was like Thanos, where you agree with him, but you're like, but still at my core, like I can't quite agree with you, but also, I mean, the math is mathing, so I get it.
Yeah, and I'm sharing for our visual audience the comic book version of the leader with his really elongated head. Shalico, we didn't get that look, but what did you think about getting the character of the leader at least into this film?
I was very happy with bringing back the leader. I mean, of course, I remember the Ed Norton Incredible Hulk. I'm not I have my own issues with Ed Norton, but I thought it was okay. And I know, the film itself really didn't do well. But the whole gamma, the gamma radiated blood of Bruce Banner falling into his cut wound, the whole thing. Now we get the leader. I'm cool with it. I'm glad you guys bring him back. I would have preferred that he looked more like this. At least give him a goatee or something, a mustache or something. But I get it. And I thought him being the main adversary, or at least the guy who's kind of putting these, the steps in place, I was totally okay with it. I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah, what did you think, Katie? Again, and you had not seen the Ed Norton Hulk, which I will say is far from the worst Hulk movie. I actually enjoyed that movie. The Eric Bana Hulk is
that one's way worse.
Way worse. Like, so much worse. Like, it's unbelievable. Although Jennifer Connelly does play Betty Ross in that, so
yes,
that's the one movie. If we could put that in as a puzzle piece, but Liv Tyler's fine in that film. But what did you think of the leader? This guy that just shows up with some of the unfortunate skin issues, I guess, is basically how we get to see him.
Yeah, as Christina said, he is unfortunate to look at. It's challenging to look at. Sorry, that wording was amazing. And yeah, just I'm kind of glad that they didn't go cartoony because again, like there was a lot of groundedness in this movie. Like everything was hit hard, you know, and he was very challenging to look at. And of course, you're putting that image up, but. But
I believe this is going to be the thumbnail for the episode.
Great. But yeah, no, I thought he did a great job. There was one shot that did bug me to no end, and it felt like he was on a green screen or something, but he was just like kind of standing. Oh, why would you do this? Why?
Talk about your best friend. Go ahead.
FaceTiming your best friend.
I don't want to talk about it. But he kind of felt very incel-y, just like it was a wide shot. He was just kind of just standing there. Yeah. And I guess that's like they wanted him to look that way, but it also felt like weirdly placed. I don't know. There was something odd about it that just drove me crazy. But apart from that, he did an incredible job. I am curious to see if we see anything else from all of this, you know.
I think that there'll be some surprising connections in Thunderbolts. Actually,
that's what I was wondering.
They don't want to be called the Thunderbolts because that's that idiot president who turned into the Red Hulk. You know, so and
oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that
being the Thunderbolts. Yeah, exactly. So and they're like, you can't call us that. So we'll see what that's. I think we'll see Harrison Ford, and maybe we're going to see the leader. And what I love about the leader is I had this idea that you know, if Sam could have even said to him is like, you don't really know those probabilities as well as you think they do, and he could have just said like, oh no, it's all still going to happen, it just hasn't happened yet. You know. And instead he teases somebody who's coming, and I'm like, Doom? Because if this were a few years ago, he would have been teasing Kang, but
well, that was
he's Bruno now. We don't talk about Kang.
No, and it was interesting too because I was wondering. I looked at my husband afterwards and I was like, "Who's he talking about?" And he was like, "I have no idea right now."
Probably Doom, right?
Do you probably Doom.
But didn't multiple people were coming? He didn't say one person, right?
They were coming.
He said multiple people were.
Maybe
coming.
He said they're coming. Yeah.
He said they're all kind of like coming together. I mean, of course, it's the setup for Secret Avengers. Or probably actually for Doctor Doom. Which one comes first, Doctor Doom or Secret Avengers?
It's a good question. I actually forget. The problem with the release schedule is that right in the middle of it is Untitled Marvel Project. So it's it's hard to know. Yeah,
it's helpful.
Yeah.
And I think they want to bring He Who Will Not Be Named back.
I heard that too.
To
Kang?
do, Kang. Yeah.
But like as a different actor?
Well, I always figured they would bring back Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. They're gonna bring back
wrap things up.
Sorry, you go ahead, Christina.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I heard they're considering it to sort of wrap up that storyline and put it away.
I had heard a rumor that they were going to recast with someone slightly less controversial, and they were torn between R. Kelly and Diddy. So they weren't sure if they were going to go with R. Kelly or Diddy. But so no, look, I think that the opportunity for Kang is still wide open if you recast, because it's like, there's thousands of them. They don't all have to look like him, or it could just be like, I shaved the mustache and just move on, you know. But I find Kang more logical than Dr. Doom. And I have my issues with Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom. There are so many great actors. They could have hired a new one, but I do love him. So there's going to be that, you know.
I trust the Russos.
Yeah.
That's
true.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'll leave it, is that I trust them. Yeah. I think it'll all make sense. If they're doing what I think they're doing, I think it will all make sense. And I think Sam and his Avengers that he's starting are going to play a big role in that. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that we are going to see, you know, it says at the end, Captain America will return. And I think the Avengers will return. And it'll be interesting to see what they start to put together, and possibly in the
which
Avengers in the aftermath of Thunderbolts and all of those things. It'll be interesting to see. Before we wind down, I wanted to ask each of you if there's anything we haven't touched on yet that maybe you want to make sure that we call out. And
The Others,
yes, Ivan Soto referencing The Others because I'm referencing The Others. He's always talking about the show Fringe. So
I was thinking it was Lost. You know,
I love Fringe.
No, I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about. But he might be talking about Lost. But
no. He's talking about what the leader was said. He said.
Oh, he said Others. I see. Yeah. Right. Exactly. But in any case, I wanted to know if there was anything that any final thoughts. I think, like we said, Captain America, easily Sam Wilson as Captain America. I can understand the criticism people even on this show have talked about in past conversations, the idea that he isn't super powered, but he's got some pretty cool tech. Tony Stark, also not super powered. So he is more of like an Iron Man character, and I think that works. What is your sort of overall thoughts? Anything that we didn't touch on, Shalko?
Overall, like I said, I thought the movie was fun. Thought it was enjoyable. I want Marvel to get back to just basically doing their thing without, these fans just kind of in their ear and then the stakeholders in their other ear.
Mm.
I want Feige to just go back to being like, listen, this is a story we're going to tell. Love it or leave it. Basically, that's what I want. I did enjoy this film. I thought Isaiah Bradley was great. I thought Torres was great. I thought some of the reshoots were very hastily done. The scene with Giancarlo and Sam at the prison, you could see the green screen, and that made me that.
Yeah. I bet we won't get that.
Filmmaker that drove me nuts. Like that was like, you can't be spending $200 million and I see this. Like this is insane.
Yeah.
So there were little things there that I just did not like or appreciate. But like I said, overall, and when it comes on Disney Plus, you're not going to see it. They're going to fix it. But I just think overall the movie was fun. I think everyone can calm down. He is the Captain America. He's not Black Captain America. He's not new Captain America. He's Captain America. It is what it is. Captain America is an ideal, not a person, and he embodies it. And I think that's great. So yeah, more Sam Wilson, more Captain America.
I agree. Christina, any sort of final thoughts, anything that you want to make sure we touch on before we say farewell?
Well, to piggyback on that, I think that they did in the Bucky scene where he was like, I'm not Steve. I think that was really important for him to say, because I think I argue that part of the reason Falcon and the Winter Soldier did so poorly was because the timing of everything. It was like Endgame, and then that was the first thing to come out right after we lose Steve Rogers, we lose Iron Man, we lose all these people. And then here's the replacement that's just like this slack ass thrown together, not very competent person in our eyes. And so I think that they're doing a really good job wrapping that up. Like, he's not Steve. Let's put that idea to bed. He doesn't have to be. Like, this is a concept that you just need to wrap your brain around, that like, this is a person who's doing the right thing, which so was Steve Rogers. He just happened to take the super serum, and now he's just passing the mantle to the next person who's just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, no, I think that, giving Sam his own identity, even though he is also Captain America, letting him be who he is as he inhabits that role. I mean, I did say that I appreciated the Bucky scene. It just was very clearly tacked on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Katie, as you get
Why
a chance.
Why would you?
Katie, as you get
right
you can control those buttons, by the way.
I know I can, but I'm also like, I'm trying not to push any buttons while I'm
That's true. You did mess something up. Earlier.
I did earlier, but yes.
Okay, so
what the hell, bro? I cannot believe this right now.
I wish there was a way to like green screen your mouth over his graphics, so it's just him talking.
You're really thinking.
I think the edited version of this.
The old late night with Conan O'Brien clutch cargo.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so we'll keep the leader off the screen.
Thank you.
And we don't need him anymore.
No, I thought. The one line in that Bucky add-on scene that made me laugh and cry, first cry then laugh, was I can't remember what it was exactly, but he was basically saying you give the people something to aspire to, like, even though you're not superhuman. And he's like, that's a really good line. And he's like, thanks, they wrote it for me. And I was like, hilarious, because of everything that we're seeing right now. And we know that this is kind of an attack on, but at the same time, I was like, oh, but I totally cried at it.
Like, oh, good job, Bucky's speechwriter.
Whoever wrote that line. Love it. But yeah, I would also just say that I am really glad that we had Harrison Ford in this movie because of all of the interviews, and especially because he told an interviewer who said, what do you think of Anthony Mackie being Black Captain America? And he was like, it's not Black he's just Captain America. Right. And for Harrison Ford to be the one that does that, yes, gold. Thank you.
And Sky the Magnanimous helps us with some dates before we wind things down. So obviously we've got Thunderbolts in May, and then he lists Fantastic Four July of this year. Then Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday, is May 2026. So I think every indication that we will see something to deal with that in the end of the Fantastic Four film, maybe a post-credit scene. We will get our fourth Spider-Man July 2026. And Untitled film, November 2026. I'm very excited about Untitled film. Why not just go ahead and title it Shang-Chi 2? We've been waiting long enough.
Please.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi 2?
Do it.
Honestly,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Secret Wars, May 2027. And then we've got Untitled films, July, November 2027. And February, May, November 2028. We're back in the 3 movies a year game, gang. And they keep having one of them premiere the weekend of Comic-Con. So then everybody that I know there has like, I haven't seen it yet. And that's going to be Katie this year, I think.
Probably.
Yeah. So in any case, lots to look forward to. The shield is in good hands. The mantle is in good hands. And of course, the Happy Meal toy tie-in are in good hands. I want to thank everybody in the chat, but also everybody for being here in the show. Christina, tell people where they can find more of you out there on the internet.
Yeah, I am at Wisecracking Blonde Christina on just about everything. So you can either my TikTok, my Instagram, even my Pinterest, because I'm crafty. Wisecracking Blonde Christina.
All right. So they can find you in all of those places. And Shalico, people can find you in a recent conversation about Saturday Night Live and our years as NBC pages and working in that building, having some fun stories about working at 30 Rock. And you've
all the stories we couldn't tell.
Yeah. Well, as soon as we turn off the camera, we can tell a couple, but we can't tell those now either. So, but
is there a moratorium on that? Or?
I was like, is it NDA?
It's not now. It's not.
No.
Sure.
Okay.
And I want to let Katie tell us where you can be found.
You can find me everywhere on Geekscape these days, but you can always find me at ElSassyPants, ElSassyPants. You can also check out the season 1 of A-List Casting now on YouTube. We just finished filming A-List season 2, so check that out. And then keep in tune for March on Geekscape, Internet Supreme Court. I will be a dishonorable judge for that. So.
And
perfect.
For this show, beginning on Wednesday, March 5th, we have our first episode of this scheduled for noon Pacific, Katie, 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. But I've already told Brody I have to stop giving times in Eastern because that's where the confusion comes in. He's the only one who needs it in Eastern time. But anyway, we'll begin covering Daredevil Born Again on Wednesday, March 5th. And it's a 2-episode premiere, and we're all very excited for that. And,
very excited.
Can't wait to see how that show turns out. And we will.
Real quickly too.
Yeah, absolutely.
This address is my TikTok, my Threads, and my Instagram. That's where you can find me. I want to be like Christian and do a podcast too, so I'm working on that as well. It won't be anything as good as this, of course.
No,
we'll be
but you can try. You could try.
I can try.
You could be like me and do 6 podcasts in one day. But
that I won't be able to do. But my little one, We're going to start doing that. It'll be
well,
more
that'll be
film
great.
oriented. Yeah.
By the way, a final thought. Sam Bibley says, "What about a movie about the Gray Hulk, the one that lives in Las Vegas and gets mixed up with the mafia?" I mean, that's the Joe Fix-It. The Mr. Fix-It is actually what he was.
Mr. Fix-It,
yeah, the Mr. Fix-It is always kind of a character that comes up, and people are very fond. So, like, the Gray Hulk was just the Gray Hulk. Sort of in the late 80s, early 90s. But what he also did is he was this character. He was Mr. Fix-It. And here's one of my favorite covers of Mr. Fix-It with Wolverine pretending to be someone named Patch. When you have hair like that, you kind of know who it is. So yes, this is one of those images that I really need to save to my hard drive because of just how often we use it up. Yeah, it's this and Wolverine reading the Hustler magazine in the Dark Phoenix saga at the newsstand. He's just flipping there, smoking a cigarette because it's a simpler time. Anyway, and this is not Marvel related, but if Skylar Magnanimous says Zack Snyder to return to WB DC Studios for an upcoming DC feature film, stay tuned. Hey, if that's true, Shalika, are you excited about more Zack Snyder DC movies?
I actually like Zack Snyder. I did not like Batman versus Superman.
I know you were on my podcast, and the first thing you said was that was whack.
Yeah, that was very whack. But I saw a picture of James Gunn and Zach, so I guess that's kind of where the rumors are coming.
Yeah,
but,
I did see that.
Yeah, I'm happy for Zach. I think he'll do well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't know how that guy keeps getting work, honestly. After 300, it was like all downhill.
No. Well, and you didn't, you weren't a guest on a podcast where you had to subject yourself to watching both Rebel Moon movies on Netflix, but I did. Okay. And so good times. In any case, so we'll be back with Daredevil Talk. We've really been just bombarding everyone with content on this show, on this feed, Marvel Movie Talk. And it's a big year because we've got those 3 movies. We've got Daredevil Born Again. We just finished Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So stick with us, and we'll see everybody talking Daredevil. Oh, wait, I got to give my plugs. I'm on social media at Christian DMZ, and I have my own personal podcast, The Blackcast, BLADTCAST. Check out Who Are These Broadcasters, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, on the Who Are These Podcasts YouTube channel. Now, that being said, that is all the time we have for now. As the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.